Hey there, Browns fans. Do you want more videos here on the Cleveland Browns Report? Well, it's up to you guys. The more subscribers we have, the more videos we do for you guys. Let's get to at least 2,000 here before the preseason really gets underway. We're at 1,710 right now. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button and join us for more videos here at the Browns Report. You guys are watching the Browns Report by Chat Sports. I am Tom Downey, and we're focused in to start today's video with an update on Anthony Walker, the linebacker the Browns brought over from the Colts, who is now a bit banged up. He suffered a non-contact injury during practice, and although this isn't quite a massive red flag yet, this is worth watching. He is going to be out a week or so, is the phrase used by the Browns, but given where we're at in early August, I would bet the over on a pure week. Maybe it's a week and a half, upwards of 2 weeks. Now, non-contact knee injury, not supposed to require surgery. It is being viewed as minor by the Browns, and although it opens up the door for some other players who we'll get into in depth in a second here, it is worth noting that this is probably a bad thing for the Browns. Walker comes over from the Colts last year, and he was supposed to be a starter for this team, most likely at the middle linebacker position. He signed a one-year, $3 million contract this offseason. Probably at his best as a run stopper, although he did make some decent plays in coverage this year. He allowed a pretty high percentage, which isn't a huge red flag. He's a linebacker. They're almost always going to have a pretty high percentage because there's a lot of shorter passes, easier to complete ones than, bombs 40 yards downfield. Allowed 3 touchdowns, picked up a pass, 5 pass breakups. Missed tackles have been an issue here and there over his NFL career. I think for the Browns, they were banking on Walker being a starter. If he misses some time, that does open up the door for other players, namely Mack Wilson, to potentially, for at least Wilson's perspective, reemerge as it relates to the Browns linebacker room. Now, we on previous videos have discussed, hey, maybe Wilson's a cut candidate, maybe he's a trade bait option as well. He was a starter in 2019, fell out of favor in 2020, and is now kind of stuck in the middle ground. But the reports out of camp, including from Albert Breer, have been very effusive in the praise of Mack Wilson. Maybe the addition of Anthony Walker lit a fire under him. We will see how he fares, mostly in the preseason when the pads really matter and the hits matter and all that stuff once they get going from that perspective. So keep an eye on Wilson with Walker out for at least a little bit of training camp. And some good news as it relates to linebackers here. Jeremiah owusu-KORAMOAH is back, activated off the COVID-19 list on Tuesday. He had missed the opening of camp due to being on that list. This is a good thing, though, for the Browns. To have Joker, Jeremiah owusu-KORAMOAH back out there is a big deal. You want to give him reps in that kind of weak side overhang linebacker type of role, which I think is in the end only a positive for Cleveland. Walker, of course, is the big story here. We'll see when he actually comes back. Again, I think the approach from the Browns will be one of conservativeness. There's no reason to rush him back from injury given where we're at in the NFL calendar. But what is your panic level right now over Walker? Rate this for me on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being you're not concerned, oh, he's going to be just fine. Don't worry about it, guys. Or 10 being you're melting down, you're freaking out. I am at maximum like maybe a 5. He's not the most important player on the defense anyway. This is not a Myles Garrett. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Some training camp praise has been paid to one Donovan Peoples-Jones. Albert Breer says DPJ is off to a very hot start at training camp. He slimmed down a little bit, catching everything. He spent some time with Baker Mayfield this offseason, and this could be a potential breakout sophomore season for the former 6th-round pick out of Michigan. Now, in 2020, DPJ played sparingly. He was a bit of a home run threat. 304 yards on, admittedly, a very small sample size of just 14 catches, 2 scores in an offense that did pick up its play in the back half of the year once they kind of figured out the chemistry and the flow of the Kevin Stefanski offense. The issue for DPJ in terms of being able to have a true breakout year is namely the numbers game at receiver. Odell Beckham Jarvis Landry, I think we would all agree on this, are going to be the stars at receiver. They're going to get the majority of the reps for an offense that won't use as much 3 receiver and so not 4 receiver looks as other teams around the NFL. Looking at you, Arizona. There's also the presence of Anthony Schwartz, the latest addition at receiver, and Rashard Higgins. Higgins last year played more than DPJ. The numbers aren't even really comparable outside of, the yards per catch. Higgins had almost 3x, 52 versus 20 the targets, doubled the receptions, 37 versus 14, nearly doubled the yards, 599 to 304. He doubled the touchdowns, 4-2. So it's not going to be an easy path for DPJ to jump over Higgins. I'm a big Rashard Higgins fan. I think he's a good football player. I think the Browns overall, given how little they will actually end up throwing the football around, I don't know exactly what the volume is going to end up looking like for DPJ. I am intrigued by what he's able to do, especially as a vertical threat. I think that's a big area the Browns can utilize him in. But I don't know if it's going to be a guaranteed volume thing for DPJ. There's also, of course, the presence of Anthony Schwartz, the young wide receiver who the team drafted fairly early in this past NFL draft out of Auburn. Now, I think early in Schwartz's career, he's going to be more of a gadget guy, but the Browns are going to try to get him the ball if they can. So for DPJ, what he can control is being an impact player at camp, wow in the preseason, and try to force his way onto the field as much as he can. I don't know, however, if he's going to be able to do anything, at least for this year, as it relates to being able to beat out Rashard Higgins and potentially down the road, Anthony Schwartz as well. So what I want you guys to do right now is pick a wide receiver 3. Who do you think it'll end up being? Type DPJ for Donovan Peoples-Jones, type RH for Rashard Higgins, or type AS for Anthony Schwartz. I'm going with Rashard Higgins, at least for now, but I do want to hear from you guys. Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. Let's discuss Jadeveon Clowney now here on the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. The praise for Clowney has been pretty solid so far at camp. A lot of good reviews on the notable free agent pickup by the Browns, with the hope being that Clowney and one of the premier passers in the NFL, Myles Garrett, can form one of the best duos at the position in the NFL. Now, Clowney signed a 1-year deal this offseason worth up to $10 million. The problem for Clowney, despite being the former number 1 overall pick, despite having all the athletic ability, the pedigree, the perceived talent, is especially over the past few years, the production has not been there. In 8 games last year, 0 sacks. And I get it, the Titans' defense was pretty bad overall. There was little pass rush help for him, but he had Jeffrey Simmons too. He didn't play that well. Injuries have been a factor as well for Clowney in recent years, and Clowney trying to blame that as to why he hasn't been the most impactful player. The pressure rate's always been pretty solid. The run defense has been pretty solid. But in 8 games in 2020 and 13 games in 2019, Clowney's combined for 3 sacks, all of them coming in 2019. That's not okay production. That's made him a bit of an overpaid player in recent years. The Browns need more production for what they're paying Clowney and, frankly, for what they need out of him with what they have on their depth chart. So 9.5 sacks would match a career high for Jadeveon Clowney. Does he get there or not? Get your votes in, make your predictions. Over or under 9.5 sacks for Clowney this year. Type in O for over or type in U for under. There was this intriguing quote, by the way, from the ESPN beat writer Jake Trotter for the Browns. He had this to say, quote, "If the defensive players were allowed to hit the quarterback, Jadeveon Clowney might have had 20 sacks today. He was in the backfield on like every play." That's a good thing, at least in terms of the positive viewpoint out of it. The Browns need Clowney to be their number 2 pass rusher. Look, Myles Garrett's the number 1, obviously. But Takk McKinley, I'm not sure I trust him yet as a true number 2 edge. There could be some fun packages in which all 3 get on the field, but the Browns are banking on Clowney to be the guy. It's not Joe Jackson. It's not Porter Gustin. It's not Curtis Weaver. Probably not Takk McKinley. They are banking on Clowney being that guy, which is a solid bet, I think, in the end. Now, quick note here as to why Clowney looks so good. We all know the Browns' offensive line, I argue, is the best offensive line in the NFL. So from that perspective, I like seeing Clowney win because I know the offensive line is great for the Browns. I'm curious how good Clowney will end up being. The flip side here, by the way, it's early in training camp. The defense almost always wins early in camp, so I can't say for certain Clowney's going to have a true double-digit sack season. But with the extra game, playing opposite Myles Garrett, if it's going to happen for Clowney, as long as he's healthy, I think this is the year he finally breaks out.